Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about cultural shock as an LLM student in the United States. I'm Talita Crank, and in this channel, we talk about life as an international law student. So I came from Brazil, and I lived in a state that was along the coast. Was a very warm state. We didn't have a winter that was cold, so the temperature there was around 70 to 80 degrees the whole year. So I think the biggest challenge that I faced when I came to the United States was definitely winter. I came to Indiana, and Indiana is a cold state, you know. I've had never seen snow. My first time seeing snow was when I came to the United States, when I came to Indiana, when I started studying law. And it is funny to remember because I've been living in the United States for almost 6 years now, but I didn't know even what to dress, how to dress, what clothes, what coat I should buy. So I remember I was doing everything wrong at the time. I would buy a coat, then would be colder the next day, so my coat wasn't warm enough to use, or I didn't know I would need gloves and hat, what to buy, what didn't buy. So I remember my first year in Indiana was a completely chaos. I spent so much money, unnecessary money. All my clothes I brought from Brazil weren't good for Indiana because here the weather is completely different. Coming from Brazil, where it's a tropical country, my biggest challenge in the beginning was definitely the weather. My second biggest challenge, and now coming to talk about law school, was language, of course, but I had been working on my language skills for a long time. Culture was different too, because even though Brazil absorbs a lot of American culture, American pop culture, it is still different. So in Brazil, for example, we touch a lot, we kiss, we hug. In the United States, I had to start learning about personal space. That wasn't okay to touch people, and wasn't okay to kiss people, and most Americans don't like it. So it was something that I had to learn too. Other things related to food. In Brazil, for example, our lunch is the biggest meal during the day, and in the United States is the opposite. So their biggest meal is dinner, and their dinner is pretty early. My dinner was pretty late because I ate a lot during lunch. So having time just for a snack, it was hard, and especially because I had classes during lunchtime, so usually I would have to have only a snack in between classes. And I remember sometimes my classes would end around 3 o'clock, and I was starving. So the classes during law school was different too, because their entire system, the entire academic system in the United States is completely different than what I was used to in Brazil. In Brazil, law school is a bachelor. So we finish high school and we go to law school. I started law school back in Brazil when I was 17 years old. And I remember that my mom was the one who had to go to my university to sign all the contracts because I was a minor at the time. So I couldn't be responsible for all the legal stuff. And she was the one who signed everything. And coming to the United States, law school is a doctorate, is a professional doctorate. So you go to high school, you get a bachelor, and then you apply to be a Juris Doctor. And in Brazil, it was not like that. So it took me a time to realize everything that was going on and understand the system. The classes in Brazil are more lecture style, so usually the professor comes, the professor teaches, then you go home and study the material. Here is the completely opposite. They give you a schedule, you read all your lectures before, all your readings, you have to come to class prepared, and then the professor teaches in a Socratic method. Was my first time ever having contact with a Socratic method, so it took me a time to adjust, but it's really possible, and at the end of the day, it was even smarter to study that way, because when I did my readings and I went to classes and the professor started talking about a topic, I could actually understand what he was talking about. And it's necessary to go to class prepared, because usually we study cases, is a system based in case laws. So if you don't prepare for classes, the professor will start talking about the case and you don't understand. And usually in your first semester, you learn about outlining and you learn about case briefs, and those are very necessary. Outline is the most important thing in law school. So for those who have never heard about outlining, it's almost like a summary of all your lecture, of the topic, where you write the main topics of everything that was discussed. That's necessary because usually in law school, you have just one exam, which is the final exam. Some professors choose to do a midterm in the middle of the semester, but most of them is still just give you one finals. So when the semester ends and you have to review everything that you study throughout the semester, it's very hard to go back to the book and read everything again. So having an outline, which is the material that you prepare throughout the semester, helps you to save time, to study smarter, and to actually review all the content you had studied in the past. And case briefs will help you with classes with a Socratic method, because usually what happens is the professor comes to class, they call a student, Mrs. Crank, for example, Mrs. Crank, what is this case about? And then you need to explain what the case is about, the facts, the holding, the issue, and the decision, the conclusion. So it's basically, case brief is basically just a summary of the case you just read. It's very important to have, because the professor will ask you. But for international students, I think it's essential, especially if you come from a totally different system like I came from a civil law country. So getting used to the way that American professors teach is very, very difficult. So it's very different. So you see, I stayed in law school for 5 years and a half, because I did the LLM and then the JD program part-time. At the end, I was already used to the system, so I didn't have to outline as much as I used to do in the beginning. I didn't have to write my cases the way I was doing in the beginning, because I was already used to. I knew what was important when I was reading a case. So sometimes I would just highlight, sometimes I would just write something on the corner of my book. But in the beginning, it's very important, because you're getting used to everything. So that was a challenge too, but the school usually offers support. So some students, they become tutors. Legal writing classes are very important. So if you can reach out to your legal writing professor and discuss with him the differences and learn a little bit more with him would be nice too. I remember that especially during my first semester in my JD program, I would ask a lot of questions to my legal writing professor to learn and ask questions every single time you don't know anything, because people don't understand your background. That's something I learned. They don't understand what you know, they don't understand what you don't know. So sometimes you don't understand something and they will not know that you are not understanding. So reach out to local people and to your professors and to students that were raised in the United States and are used to the system every single time you have a question, because that will help you to adjust a lot. I think another challenge I had was the feeling lonely. Missing my family, missing my parents, missing my culture. I'm getting emotional because, you know, you stay, even if you live here like I do, it is still hard. You still miss things. I adjust a lot in the US. Today I'm already an American citizen. My life is in the United States, but I still miss a lot my culture. I still miss a lot my people. And that will never change. A way to go through it is making friends, making local friends. Don't limit yourself to just be friends with people from your own culture, but try to make friends in the location you are. This will help you to create roots and to adjust in the culture, you know, to like the place you are at. So it makes everything better. So the emotional aspect counts a lot. I don't know if your plan is to stay in the United States, if your plan is going to the country, back to your country, but it's always beneficial to make friends. If you go back to your country, you have more connections outside it, and if you stay, you have friends for your lifetime. So connect with people is always helpful. So I think those were the three biggest challenges I had during my time in law school, was weather and culture and the academic system. I already mentioned here in a video that I was very involved in school associations, because that helped me to connect with other people. So be proactive. Sometimes the association or people will not come to you, especially because Americans have that sense of personal space and they don't want to seem invasive. But don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I came to the United States as a minority in a Trump government during the Trump era, and this thing of immigration was a very hot topic at the time. And I remember I was very scared sometimes of prejudice, of bias, of talking to people when people discriminate against me. So sometimes I was just by myself, but you know, that's something you need to overcome. Not all people are the same. Sometimes you meet bad people, but you can have this sensation anywhere, even in your own country, because people are different. But most people here are very, very, very helpful. They are there when you need. They help you a lot. I have more friends here than back in Brazil, maybe. I had people who helped me a lot during this journey. All my professors were very welcome to me, to my difference, to what I have to bring. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It's a great experience, and you grow a lot as a human being. And even today, where my scenario is a little different because I'm jumping from law school to the job market, sometimes I find places that I don't fit there, but some places I do fit. So try to find places and people that will help you, that will respect your differences, that will be there for you. Most people are like that. And enjoy your journey. It's an amazing opportunity to study in a different country, to learn about a different culture. I came from a very small state in Brazil where we didn't have international exposure, and coming to the United States, a different culture, different country, meeting people from all around the world was magical. I grew up so much as a human being. I know so much about respecting differences. I know so much about friendship, and I value every single moment I have in my life right now. So I hope you continue this journey with me. I'm happy to be here with you, motivating, telling about what you have to expect coming to the United States. But enjoy your journey. I see you next time, and subscribe. Bye bye.